The Draconian Empire stretched across 17 star systems, its crimson banners bearing the likeness of Emperor Valdris the Eternal, a being whose scales shimmered like molten gold and whose voice could shatter moons. Yet within the obsidian towers of the imperial palace, silence reigned in the prince's quarters. Prince Kithaeron lay motionless on his levitating bed, his magnificent silver scales dulled with neglect. Born 23 cycles ago, he had never taken a single step, never spread his wings to soar through the crystal spires of the capital. The greatest healers in the galaxy had examined him. Centaurian biomages, Andromedan quantum physicians, even the mysterious void whisperers from the edge of known space. All had declared the same verdict. The prince's nervous system was irreparably damaged, a genetic anomaly that no science could cure. Another failure, Emperor Valdris growled, his massive form casting shadows across the throne room as he dismissed the latest team of specialists. 23 years, and my heir remains as lifeless as stone, the court murmured in hushed tones. Some spoke of curses, others of divine punishment. The empire needed a strong heir, and Prince Kithaeron's condition had become a source of shame that echoed through the corridors of power. It was then that Sarah Chen arrived. She stood barely 5 feet tall, her brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail, wearing the plain gray uniform of a palace servant. The hiring overseer, a pompous draconian named Vex, looked down at her with obvious disdain. A human? Vex's forked tongue flicked out dismissively. The prince requires specialized care, not some primitive biped from a backwater world. Sarah met his gaze steadily. I'm a licensed physical therapist and biomedical engineer. On Earth, I specialized in neurological rehabilitation. Earth. Vex pronounced the word like a curse. That insignificant rock where your species hasn't even mastered interstellar travel without our technology. Perhaps, Sarah said quietly, but we've learned to heal when others cannot. Something in her tone made Vex pause. The Empire was desperate, and human labor was cheap. Against his better judgment, he assigned her to the prince's care. Sarah's first meeting with Kithaeron left her heart breaking. The magnificent dragon prince, who should have been soaring through nebulae and commanding star fleets, lay still as death. His golden eyes tracked her movement, intelligence burning within, but his body remained a prison. "Hello, Your Highness," she said softly, approaching his bed. "My name is Sarah. I'm here to help." The prince's eyes widened slightly. Most servants barely looked at him, treating him like an unfortunate fixture. This small human gazed at him, with something he hadn't seen in years: hope. Sarah began her work immediately. She studied draconian physiology with an intensity that amazed the palace scholars. She spent 18 hours a day in the archives, cross-referencing human neurological research with alien biology texts. The other servants whispered that the human had gone mad, muttering about neural pathways and synaptic regeneration. "The problem isn't damage," Sarah explained to a skeptical court physician 3 weeks later. "It's dormancy. Prince Kithaeron's neural pathways were never activated properly during development. On Earth, we've seen similar cases in premature infants." "Impossible," the physician scoffed. "Our greatest minds have—" "Your greatest minds looked for disease," Sarah interrupted. "I'm looking for potential." She began with simple exercises, tiny electrical stimulations along the prince's spine, gentle manipulation of his limbs. The court watched with mixture of curiosity and contempt as the humans spent hours each day working with Kithaeron, talking to him constantly, treating him not as an invalid but as a person. "Feel that?" she would ask, flexing his massive talons. "That's your nervous system learning to remember. We're going to rewire every connection, Your Highness, slowly but surely." Weeks passed, then months. Sarah faced constant ridicule from the court, who called her treatments human superstition. Even Emperor Valdris grew impatient, threatening to have her expelled from the palace. But Sarah had seen something others missed: tiny muscle twitches in the prince's tail, barely perceptible movements in his fingers. The neural pathways were awakening. On the one-year anniversary of her arrival, Sarah was conducting her usual therapy session when it happened. As she manipulated Kitharon's right wing, explaining the biomechanics of flight, the prince's golden eyes suddenly blazed with concentration. His wing moved, not from Sarah's manipulation, but from his own will, a single deliberate motion that sent ripples of shock through the watching servants. "Did you see that?" Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, Your Highness. You moved." From that moment, progress accelerated exponentially. Kitharon's rehabilitation became the talk of the Empire. The prince, who had never moved, was learning to control his body with an intensity that amazed everyone who witnessed it. 6 months later, Prince Kitharon took his first step. His massive form trembled with effort, but he placed one clawed foot before the other, walking across his chamber while the entire court watched in stunned silence. 3 months after that, he flew. The sight of the silver dragon prince soaring above the palace spires brought the entire capital to a standstill. Citizens poured into the streets, cheering as their heir performed aerial maneuvers that would have challenged dragons half his age. Emperor Valdris found Sarah in the palace gardens that evening, watching his son practice flight patterns against the sunset. "Human," the emperor's voice rumbled, "you have given me back my heir. Name your reward." Sarah smiled, her small hand shading her eyes as she tracked Kitharon's graceful flight. "Just let me keep helping people, Your Majesty. That's reward enough." As Prince Kitharon descended from the sky, landing with newfound grace beside the human who had changed his life forever, the Empire learned a lesson that would echo through the stars. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from power or technology, but from the simple human refusal to accept that anything is impossible. The Dragon Prince had learned to fly, but it was the human spirit that had truly soared.